Hello and welcome to our second video tutorial. Today we are going to talk about accessing our data via an on-site visit at one of our locations outside of the European Union. By watching this video, you will learn about the most striking difference between on-site data access inside and outside the EU. That is, the additional anonymization process that is required if you decide to use our data on-site at one of our locations in the United States, Canada, or the UK. As you can see on the map, by now we have already set up several locations for on-site use spread out across Europe and North America. Within the EU, in addition to the numerous locations in Germany, we offer international locations in France, Spain, Poland, and Luxembourg. Beyond that, we maintain locations in the UK, the United States, and Canada. As we chose locations based on where most of our users are, we are confident that in most cases a long journey can be avoided. However, should you choose to have your on-site visits at locations outside the EU, due to data protection regulations, the requested FTZ data have to undergo additional anonymization procedures. The specific anonymization conditions are agreed upon during the application process. To simplify this process, we have developed a standard anonymization concept for each dataset, which can be modified individually if required by the research project. Please note, however, that there is no such thing as a free lunch. Any deviation from the standard concept will have to be offset elsewhere, for instance by deleting other variables instead. In addition, such deviations prolong the coordination process and thus the conclusion of the contract, so please contact us in due time before the desired start of your project. Please be aware of the important restriction that it is not possible to return to the original, less anonymous version of your dataset once the data of a project have been further anonymized. This means that if during your project you should choose to have an on-site visit in Germany or somewhere else in the EU, you will still only have access to the further anonymized version. Moreover, an additionally anonymized dataset is provided to all users of a project, that is, even to those who visit our EU on-site locations. However, of course, nothing of this is necessary if you choose a location within the EU for your on-site visit. In addition, please note that due to our simpler data structure, our establishment-level datasets, such as the Establishment History Panel or the IAB Establishment Panel, can also be accessed via remote access only. The main advantage of this is that no further anonymization is necessary with the remote access only option. Now we would like to give you a small insight into the anonymization process, should you choose your project requires on-site visits in the US, UK, or Canada. In particular, we would like to show you which anonymization steps are necessary under which conditions. As mentioned above, if you intend to analyze our data via on-site use at one of our EU locations, no further restrictions apply. You will have access to the data as described in the corresponding data report. However, if you would like to use our data via on-site visits to one of our locations in the US, Canada, or the UK, the data have to undergo a basic further anonymization. If your project requires sensitive variables, which you can find in the data report to your selected dataset, the basic file of the Establishment History Panel, or BHP, which is always provided automatically, will undergo some additional anonymization. In addition, for each sensitive variable you request, two variables from the main dataset must be deleted or coarsened. These potential variables to choose from vary depending on the dataset and are defined as part of the agreement of the individual anonymization concept. In case you require additional variable blocks or extension files from the Establishment History Panel, its basic file will also be anonymized. Additionally, and now frankly it gets a bit complicated, sorry for that, for the first three additional variable blocks or extension files, in total 2 variables from the main dataset must be deleted or coarsened. From the fourth required variable block or extension file onwards, for each file 2 more variables have to be selected. But of course, if you do not request neither sensitive variables nor additional files from the establishment history panel, no further restrictions apply beyond the standard further anonymization. We are well aware that this is certainly abstract and complex, and therefore not easy to grasp. So, in order to help you better understand what those rules imply for your specific project, we will now show you a representative example of how our anonymization concept works in practice. We will again start at the top and assume that you request on-site access to one of our data products from a location outside the EU, let's say from Vancouver. It's of course very simple if you don't need any sensitive variables or variable blocks or extension files from the BHP. In that case, only some of your dataset's variables would need to be altered, involving the deletion of some and the modification of other variables, where a modification can be a reduction to a dummy variable, an aggregation to fewer categories, or the rounding of values. But for the purpose of this example, let's assume your project's needs don't stop there. In order to pursue your research question, you absolutely need a certain sensitive variable, for instance, occupational codes on the most detailed level. In that case, two additional changes are in order. First, the so-called BHP basic file needs to undergo some further anonymization steps, where some absolute numbers of workers are transformed into shares and other variables are categorized or replaced by imputed values. Since you request one sensitive variable, you will need to choose two from our proposed changes regarding individual level variables, which involve either aggregation or deletion. Should you, however, apply for two instead of one sensitive variable, you would accordingly, of course, be asked to select 4 additional changes instead of only 2. Now, let's assume you also really need 2 BHP extension files, for instance, those on worker flows and entries and exits. Since you already requested sensitive variables from the main dataset, the triggered anonymization of the BHP basic file is already taken care of. Beyond that, as we mentioned earlier, you get the first 3 BHP blocks or extension files at the cost of, in total, only 2 additionally anonymized individual level variables. So, to sum up, you requested access to 1 sensitive variable and 2 BHP extension files, triggering the anonymization of the BHP basic file and requiring you to select 4 individual level variables to be coarsened or deleted. Again, since this is very important, only in case you need neither sensitive variables nor BHP variable blocks or extension files will the procedure stop after basic further anonymization. Just as with on-site visits in Germany or other EU countries, please be aware that if you choose to use our data on-site at one of our locations in the United States, Canada, or the UK, you will have to make an appointment, ideally well in advance. To do this, please contact the person responsible for your location. The corresponding contact details of the FDZ locations are provided on our website. But choosing on-site access at one of our EU locations not only pays off because you avoid the additional anonymization of the data. If you can arrange to come to our Nuremberg site, for instance, you will also have access to the FDZ staff to tap into their expertise on the data. Only here we can offer same-day and in-person advice. Furthermore, in contrast to other locations, or so we've heard, it's almost like being in a spa. We even have windows and greenery to enhance user experience and perhaps even productivity. And after we have thrown you out at the end of a busy working day at the FDZ, sorry for that, you can enjoy your free time and visit the castle or have a hearty traditional Franconian meal. For the latter, although it's certainly delicious, we highly recommend bringing pants with an elastic waistband. We hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial and found it helpful. If you want to give feedback on this video, please write us an email. Thanks for watching and see you soon.